Hey Falcons fans, we have a lot to talk about after Sunday's matchup, so without further ado, let's get right to it. So hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss any breaking news from the Falcons. This is a tough one to swallow, Falcons Nation. It seems like every time we're on the verge of a big comeback, something happens to rob us of the win. And this time, it wasn't a drop pass or a missed block, it was the referees. Let me break it down for you. The Falcons were in the middle of an epic primetime showdown with the Kansas City Chiefs, and for those of you watching at home, you saw it happen right in front of your eyes. Kyle Pitts was clearly interfered with in the end zone. It wasn't a borderline call or something that could have gone either way. It was flagrant. The defender was on top of Pitts, his helmet buried in Kyle's chest, and not once did the defender look back to catch the ball. It was the most obvious pass interference call you'll see all season, but no flag fell to the ground. Does this sound familiar? Just a week ago, Chiefs fans were complaining about how their own receiver was called in the exact same way, and the refs threw the flag, giving them a game-winning call. But this week, when it's the Falcons, no flag. And that's what's so frustrating. A team like Kansas City, with all its star power, seems to get these favorable calls every time. Now, don't get me wrong, the Falcons had one more chance after that, a desperation drive that didn't work out on fourth down. But the reality is, we never should have been in this position in the first place. That missed pass interference call on Pitts changed everything. Imagine for a second if it was Patrick Mahomes dropping back under pressure and throwing to Travis Kelce, only to have Kelce involved before the ball even arrived. You know the flags would be flying all over the place. But when it's the Falcons, crickets. Look, I'm not suggesting there's some grand conspiracy against Atlanta, but man, it's frustrating when the same team gets the benefit of these calls 2 weeks in a row. Whether it's the Chiefs' offensive line getting away with holding our D-line or the referees letting them get physical with the secondary, we just didn't get a fair shake. It's hard not to feel like we were robbed of a well-deserved primetime upset. And it gets worse. We're now 1-2 on the season with some critical matchups coming up. We have the Saints and Bucks on the horizon, and every game matters from here on out. We needed this win to give us some breathing room. Instead, we're back in a tough spot, and it feels like the referees took that chance away from us. As hard as this loss is to swallow, we have to face facts. The league isn't going to change, and these top-tier teams with superstar players, teams like the Chiefs, are always going to get these favorable calls. Ask a Chiefs fan, and they'll tell you it's just part of the game. But if you ask anyone else, we all know what we saw. Kyle Pitts was called, and the Falcons were robbed of a chance to win. All right, Falcons fans, I want to hear from you. Do you think the referees blew the game? What do you think about the missed pass interference call? Leave your comments below. As if the loss wasn't bad enough, the Falcons have been hit with some serious injuries that could impact the rest of the season. Two key pieces of our offensive line, Caleb McGarry and Drew Dalman, are expected to miss significant time, and it doesn't look good for our running game going forward. We all saw that on Sunday, right? Our running game just couldn't get going like it did the week before. Bijan Robinson, our star running back, was left without his usual holes to run through, and a lot of that was due to the loss of McGarry and Dalman during the game. These guys are the heart of one of the most unified offensive lines in the NFL, and without them, we struggled to find a rhythm on the ground. So what exactly happened? Caleb McGarry, our devastating right tackle, and Drew Dalman, our standout center, both suffered lower body injuries during the game. Now, if you've been watching football for any length of time, you know how physical it can be in the trenches. These guys get beat up on every play, so it's almost surprising that more offensive linemen don't end up with lower body injuries. But unfortunately, it looks like we weren't so lucky this time around. Reports are still coming in, but it looks like one, or maybe both, of these guys could be headed to injured reserve, meaning they'll be out for a significant portion of the season. This is a huge blow for the Falcons, especially considering how vital these two are to opening up running lanes and protecting our quarterback. Let's be honest, not having McGarry and Dalman on the field is a game changer. Just a week ago, we were all talking about how dominant our offensive line looked, and now we're looking at the possibility of playing without two of our most important guys. It's frustrating and definitely makes our upcoming matchups even more challenging. This week, we have a heated rivalry game against the Saints, and after that, we'll face the Bucks. With our offensive line banged up, it's going to be crucial for the Falcons to play smart football. We're going to have to play up front and find ways to protect our backup linemen, especially against these tough divisional opponents. One of the big keys to moving forward without McGarry and Dalman will be adjusting our game plan. We have weapons on offense, Bijan, Tyler Allgeier, and Kyle Pitts, but they're only as good as the protection they get from the guys up front. If we can't keep defenses from stacking the box, it's going to be tough to get anything done on the ground or through the air. So, Falcons fans, this isn't the news we were hoping for after week 3. The loss of McGarry and Dalman could really shake things up, and it's going to take a full team effort to overcome these setbacks. But we have to stay positive and hope that the coaching staff can come up with a game plan that works with the pieces we have left. Okay, that's the injury news. Now, I want to hear from you. How do you think the Falcons will adjust to the loss of McGarry and Dalman? Can we still rely on our running game without those two on the field, or should we shift our focus to a more passing attack? While we may not have come out on top, Coach Reed wasted no time in his post-game press conference praising our team and coach. In just 14 words, Reed was already tipping his hat to Raheem Morris, saying, "The Atlanta Falcons are in great hands." Falcons fans, you love to hear that, don't you? Reed, with over 400 wins and 3 Super Bowl titles to his name, knows a thing or two about winning football. And he believes we have a solid foundation under Morris. He pointed out how hard and aggressive we played on both sides of the ball, showing that this team is moving in the right direction. One moment that really stood out? Atlanta's decision to go for it on 4th and 5 from the Chiefs' 6-yard line, trailing by 5 points with just 4 minutes remaining. Morris could have played it safe, but he kept the offense on the field, determined to win the game on our terms. "We didn't come here to tie. We didn't come here to lose," Morris said after the game. "We came here to win the football game on our terms." Even though we didn't convert, Reed respected the bold decision, saying, "He stayed aggressive. He has a team with an aggressive attitude. And that's exactly the kind of energy we need as we continue to grow this season." But Reed wasn't the only one giving us props. Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes, a 2-time MVP, was also impressed with our defense, especially how we held Kansas City to just 3 net yards in the second half. He thinks the Falcons will be a team that gets better and better as the season progresses. "This is a good football team," Mahomes said. "They're going to make a lot of noise as the season progresses." Falcons fans, you know this, we've put the pieces in place, and it's only a matter of time before everything falls into place. Kansas City's defense also showed respect for our offense, particularly running back Bijan Robinson. Chiefs defensive end George Karlaftis said they had a lot of respect for Robinson and the entire Falcons unit. "They were tough to beat," he added. Now, while our running game struggled on Sunday, with Robinson and Algier combining for just 63 yards, we showed flashes through the air. Kirk Cousins went 20 of 29 for 230 yards and a touchdown, but it's clear we need to protect him better after he was picked off twice and hit 10 times. So what does all this mean for us going forward? Yes, we're 1-2, but the potential is there. Reed, Mahomes, and the entire Chiefs team sees that. Now, it's up to us to turn that potential into wins, and that starts with continuing to play aggressively and tough with Raheem Morris. Now, I want to hear from you. What do you think of Andy Reid's praise? Do you think the Falcons are on the right track with Coach Morris? Leave your thoughts in the comments below and let's get this conversation started. And remember, if you haven't already, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any more updates. Go Falcons!